Okay, when you get a new system, you'll have to start up the monitor and do a learn process. When you start it up, watch for the version number. If you have problems, you'll need this number when you phone in for service. The service or the version number is there, and it should be a 0.22. Okay, when you start it up, the system will come up with this screen as you see here. And the first thing you're going to want to do is go out and unplug all your sensors on your tank. Once you've done that, you're going to want to arrow down to learn new system. Hit the select button. And it's going to ask you if you want to overwrite it or not. If it's a new system, you're going to want to proceed. So hit the select button again. Now it's going to ask you to install a sensor. So what it's actually asking you to do is plug in the sensors in the order it's asking them for them. So you'd plug in the speed sensor. As you heard, there'll be a beep when the correct sensor is plugged in, and it goes next to fan sensor. Then it goes to fan 2. On this particular tank we don't have a fan 2, so we would actually skip this sensor, hit select. If you do have a fan 2, plug it in at this time. Then it goes to shaft 1. Then to shaft 2. Then shaft 3. Then it goes to shaft 4. If you have a 650 or 800 and you have 4 shafts, you plug it in at this time. Otherwise, you would skip this sensor again. Then it goes to tank 1. What this is the full bin, or the bin level sensor, and you'd plug them in as it asks for it. Okay, here again. Okay, connect tank 1. Connect tank 2. Connect tank 3. Okay, here again, this particular unit doesn't have a tank 4, so we're going to skip it. If you do, plug it in. Okay, the next thing it asks for is a blockage module. The module itself is a learned sensor, but the blockage sensors are not. You can leave them plugged in. So you'd plug it in at this time. If you don't have it, there are more than one modules in this, so you'd arrow down to skip this type of sensor. And it says installation complete, exit, and you hit select. So once you finish installing all the sensors, you're going to want to shut the monitor off. Wait a second, turn it back on. Here you'll see the version number. It's 0.22. You'll want to record this somewhere for if you make a phone call for service. Okay, and as you heard in the background, there's beeping. What that's doing is actually the monitor is going through recording each sensor to make sure they're all there. Okay, so now we go into menu again, and we want to do implement setup. So we'll select implement setup, go in, and choose the appropriate fields in each one. First one is units, either imperial or metric. Next one is width. You'll select that. Hit the up arrow to go up in width, down arrow to go down in width. Selecting how many feet you have. The next is field area. You'll select that. Are you sure you want to zero it on a brand new one? Yes, you are. Field area or total area, same thing. Select that. Okay, then down to exit and save, select and go in. The next is to your speed settings on your cart. Hit select, go in. Pulses per revolution is set on 4, and what that is the magnets inside the plastic wheel on the shaft. And there are 4, so we can arrow down. The pulses per 400 feet, that is how many pulses it takes for that particular tire to go 400 feet. In this case, we're going to actually select, and we're going to take the number up to 341 for the 800 size tire. There is a chart in the book that will tell you the number, and there's also a formula for finding that number if you have a different brand of tire. What this does, it sets the ground speed and the acres. Once you get the number, hit select. Speed calibration, go into there. Here it tells you to measure out 400 feet. Then you actually drive that 400 feet and it will count up the number of pulses and enter it in for you. Tells you to start driving. It'll count the pulses. Once you get to the 400 feet, you stop, then exit and save. Okay, then you exit and save this by using the select button again. Then we go down to fan settings. Fan 1 settings, hit select. Pulses per revolution is 2. On the fan, it's counting the number of bolts that are actually holding the hub onto the shaft of the fan motor, and it is 2. You'll scroll down. Low fan alarm point is set at 3000. This is settable by you to whatever you want it to be. Probably ideally to set it close to where you're actually operating. Hit select, go down to high fan. High fan default is at 6500, and you should bring that down to at least 5500 to be on the safe side for the safety of the fan itself. Here again, I would actually run it close to where I'm actually operating. Hit select, exit and save, and move on to the next, exit. Okay, bin settings. Basically, this is where you can turn them on and off. If you're using all 3 tanks, you leave them enabled. If, for instance, you're not using the first tank, hit select and change it to disabled. I'm going to disable them all so that we don't get alarms during this presentation. Exit and save. Shaft settings, we'll do shaft 1 first. Make sure it's highlighted, hit select. Pulses per revolution, here again, it's the number of magnets in the plastic wheel on the shaft. So that's correct. The only time you would change this is if you go into slow speed drive. You can take this down to 1. Hit select. Low fan alarm point, that's how many RPM it does. Same thing, you can leave it there, but on slow speed, actually take that down as low as it'll go to 0.5. And exit and save. And you do the same for all 3 shafts. Making sure the number of pulses are in there and that there is an RPM number. Next thing, exit and save. Okay, blockage module settings. We didn't have any in here, but it does ask you for how many, then you're able to test them, and then this is where you go to calibrate them as well. So exit and save. Down to the next one, global settings. What this is for is to change your languages, your volume, the contrast, and all that kind of stuff. It also gives you a place to restore to default settings. If you switch to Russian, make sure you remember how to get back. Exit and save, and exit. There you have the monitor. You are basically ready to seed. One thing you'll notice on here is the top and bottom displays are both showing speed. You can change them basically by pushing the up arrow or down arrow. So we will change the top one to fan speed. And it's going to take number 1. So now it's shaft speed and ground speed. You can also enlarge the screen, so it'll take the bottom display and take up the whole screen.